Boo, everybody. Welcome to Omnibros Live. Today is a special topic episode, everybody. Today is our spooky Halloween comic book themed recommendations. So strap in, get ready to talk horror, get ready to talk Halloween themed comics, because I am here with the one and only, my main man, my boy, Comics Guide 101. Lou, tell everybody who you are.
What's up, man? Comics Guide 101 on Twitter and Facebook. Today, I am super pumped because horror happens to be my favorite genre of pretty much everything. I consume horror. I love it, and probably not a week goes by without me reading something or watching something in the horror genre.
Nice.
I love it.
Did you see the new Hellraiser on Hulu yet?
I have not,
Okay.
And that is because it's a very strong film, and I'm kind of waiting for the right time to watch it.
What do you mean by a very strong film?
Because it's Hellraiser.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the subject matter itself is pretty.
I had to watch it myself alone because my wife refuses to watch that stuff. Like, she hates it when the banner pops up on Hulu. She's like, "Oh God, it's scary. Don't even want to look at it."
So I'm kind of waiting.
I love Hellraiser. That's like one of my faves for sure.
I'm waiting for the right time to watch it. I'm super pumped about it, though. I really do want to see it. What'd you think?
It's good.
Yeah,
it's good. It's you'll probably like it. I mean, I think it's the original one is such an iconic, but it's such a different movie. Like, it's all very kind of sheltered. Like, it all basically takes place in like one set for the most part. Like, it just takes place in one house for the most part.
Right.
This one, it's a little bit more expansive. Like, it's kind of all over the place. Happens here, happens there, but a lot of it does happen in the same kind of house idea as well.
Yeah, this has been a banger year for horror stuff, man. It's been like, I've heard Barbarian is great, and that comes to HBO Max this month. I can't wait. X was really fun. I dug X a lot. I heard Pearls were just as good.
I heard Black Phone was really good.
Black Phone is really good. Smile is good. So it's been a great year for horror.
Yeah, and excellent.
We get a new Halloween movie this week too.
Oh, Jesus, there's a lot coming out, man. A lot coming out. Speaking of a lot of things coming out, this show is sponsored by our favorite and absolutely the best place to get all of your new omnibuses, trade paperbacks, hardcovers, omnibuses, absolute, all of your collected edition and graphic novel purchases need to go through InStockTrades.com. That's right, InStockTrades.com, where every Tuesday is it 9? I think it's at 9 a.m. noon Eastern. That's when the new books of the week drop. So if you spend $50 or more in the U.S. on a single purchase, you do get free shipping. All right, that's the best. Free shipping. You get the best packaging. Like, legitimately, IST's packaging, I think, set the bar for anybody else. Like, when I see sales on Facebook or anything like that, it's always like in-stock trade, like packing, stuff like that. So it's definitely worth it for the free shipping and the excellent packaging. Awesome customer service. You get a Omnibros $50 gift card that we give away once a month. It's the last Monday of the month. We give away a $50 gift card from IST, which is awesome. That's open to everybody across the world. In-stock trades, best place to buy your omnibuses, collected editions, all of your comic book needs in collected format. Make sure you check out InStockTrades.com. All right. So it's about that time, everybody. Speaking of everybody, shout out to everybody in the chat. We got a great group of people already here chatting it up in the chat. We already got people talking about Hellraiser. I hope everybody's super ready for some cool, spooky, fun Halloween comics, because this is just that time of the year, right, where everything is Halloween related. Everybody wants Halloween themed movies all month long. So let's talk about spooky Halloween fun comic books as well.
I'm down, man.
I got a list. I don't know about you, bro, but I don't want to get into too much. I got a lot. I need to just kind of narrow it down to like 3, but I got some fun stuff, bro.
Oh, I can rattle off. I'm gonna rattle off stuff off the top of my head. We'll do what you go. You do one. I do one. How's that sound?
I'll do one first.
Go for it.
I'll do this one first because this is one of my. It's if you're a fan of this movie or this movie series, then this is definitely a book that everybody needs to check out. Okay, I'm talking about 28 Days Later. This is I got the trade paperback hardcover, or not hardcover trade paperback. This is the trade paperback omnibus that collects the entire series. And if you're a fan of 28 Days Later or 28 Weeks Later, whatever the sequel was, you definitely need to check this book out. It is canon. It is a part of that story because this does take place in between the first movie and the second movie. And there's some parts in here that actually reference things that happen in the second movie. So it does kind of blend into the second film as well. I love the art in this book. It's this very dark, gritty looking art. This is from Boom Studios. This is back when Boom was not as big as they are these days, or things like Something's Killing the Children and stuff like that. This is back when they're doing a lot of licensing books and stuff, but they really, really knocked it out of the park. You get the art in here by Declan Shelby that I love. So this is definitely, if you're into like that zombie horror or like rage virus type movies and that type of genre and things of the sorts like that, then yeah, 28 Days Later. Underappreciated, overshadowed book. It gets really, nobody ever talks about this. So that's why one of the reasons I want to bring this up. I'm going to bring up something that people haven't really mentioned that isn't your default go-to, like Walking Dead. Nothing against Walking Dead. We might even talk about that today. But that's always like the default that everybody goes to is Walking Dead. I know Lou hates Walking Dead, especially after the prison scene. Me too. That's kind of where it kind of falls off for me, and it turns into a different book.
Yeah.
Did you have you ever checked out 28 Days Later, the comic?
Okay. I read one volume of it, and I was really impressed with what I read. I was actually, but this was years and years ago when this series first came out. This is a pretty old series. I was genuinely impressed with it, actually, with how well it was written and the pacing and everything. I love those two films. I'm still waiting for 28 months later or 28 years later, whenever we're supposed to get that third movie. I don't think it's going to happen at this point. But, man, the comics. The thing is with the comics is that it really captured what was great about those two movies. And I remember the first time I watched that movie was at, I think it was like a friend's house, and he put on the movie and I'm like, what the hell is this? And I see zombies running their ass off. I'm like, what the fuck is this, man?
I always use my wife as like a gauge for certain things. So if she doesn't like it, I'm like, oh dude, I'm into it. Like if you think it's too scary or too much, I'm all about it, because she hates fast zombies. Like if they start running, forget it. She's not about that.
Yeah.
She's okay with Walking Dead and like the slow moving, kind of like decrepit, decaying zombies. But if they can outrun you, then that's a problem.
So that's a great choice, bro. For me, my first choice is, hold on, I actually was pulling up a list there for a second. Where was it?
And as you're pulling that up, everybody real quick, give us a thumbs up if you're watching this video live, even if you're watching this on the rewind. Also, follow Omnibroslive on Instagram. If you're a podcast person, if you want to hear us do these shows and you're into more of the audio side of things, so you want to listen to us on your commute or at the gym or at work or whatever the case might be, we are on every awesome podcast platform that's out there. I'm talking like Spotify, Apple, iTunes. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on Stitcher, Anchor FM, all that stuff. So you can find us there. Our links are in the description here, our link tree to all of our social media and to all the fun podcast stuff as well. So subscribe to us on there if you like podcasts.
I'm going to go with Alan Moore's seminal work, Swamp Thing. That's yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So Swamp Thing, and mainly Swamp Thing was a character that was created by Bernie Wrightson and, geez, I don't remember who was it. It was help me out, Gabe. It was Bernie Wrightson.
Bernie Wrightson. That was before the Alan Moore stuff. Alan Moore was
Right.
more of the John Tolman stuff.
Right. It was created by Bernie Wrightson, and who else was it?
Len Wein.
Len Wein. Yeah, sorry guys, I'm really tired right now. So it was created by Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson, and those first few, I think it's like 18 issues of Swamp Thing, something like that, are okay. They're good. They're a solid primer, but it's not until Alan Moore gets his hands on the character and really changes what the character is and kind of gives you a new perspective on what exactly the Swamp Thing is, that it becomes the book that is just so fucking well known. There's the whole concept of the Parliament of Trees, and he gets really weird with it. There are moments involving the tubers. Remember those where he grows like things out of his chest, and he gives it to the girl he's seeing, and they kind of like have transdimensional sex and everything. It's weird. It gets really weird and out there. But
so here's the thing: I've read very little Alan Moore Swamp Thing.
Really,
that's one of the things where I'm starting to like look at like my gaps, and a lot of it is DC. Like I've been saying, so I've been reading a lot of DC stuff, and I have a lot of DC stuff on my like to read list. And one of those is the Alan Moore Swamp Thing stuff as well. I want to get like that trade paperback box set or something like that.
You're not gonna get the absolutes?
No, because the coloring is garbage.
I hate the coloring on them.
Yeah, I remember when those were first coming out and they released. I was all about it. I was like, dude, I'm in. I'm gonna finally finish reading all of Alan Moore's Swamp Thing. We're gonna get in a really nice absolute edition. And I saw the colors compared to the like original coloring, and I was like, not for me. Not for me. That's
and the thing that sucks about that is that the original hardcovers, the smaller editions that came out, are massively out of print, and they're beautiful little collections with the original coloring and with the original paper stock on it. So it looks great.
That's what I'm into.
Yeah. They kept it as original as they possibly could with those editions. If you can get those out there for a good price, I highly recommend you pick those up.
Yeah, I see them around. Like there's certain comic shops around town where I see like 2 here, 3 here that are kind of broken apart. I have to travel around, but I've been thinking about getting it that way. I just want to read it because I know. I mean, that's like Alan Moore's like big, like first big, huge breakout title, like mainstream title kind of thing. So I really want to get into that. Like I said, I have a lot of gaps, and a lot of it is DC. A lot of it's DC Vertigo, honestly. Like most of Grant Morrison stuff from Vertigo. So yeah, I'll be getting into that stuff soon. So anyways, take it away, brother. What else you got going on for Swamp Thing?
I think it's also kind of notable that, if I'm not mistaken, I think Swamp Thing was the first book that kicked off the Vertigo line. That it originally started with DC, but they moved it over to the Vertigo line because it was like, oh, this is a bit too much.
Yeah, because the Vertigo line, I think, originally was, you could see from the original Vertigo series, it was like supernatural, creepy stuff.
Yes.
Like Swamp Thing, Sandman, Constantine, or Hellblazer, all of that stuff. That was all like the original like idea behind that stuff was more kind of spooky horror, supernatural kind of stuff. And then later down the line in Vertigo, it did get more different types of books, you know, like more crime, like Scalped and 100 Bullets and Fables and things like that. But
yeah, and not many people realize this, but Constantine actually first showed up in Swamp Thing. Alan Moore Swamp Thing. He's Alan Moore's creation. A lot of people associate it now with Neil Gaiman and a whole bunch of other different writers and stuff like that, and Garth Ennis that took the character over and kind of made him what he is. But he originally popped up in Swamp Thing, that run.
Yep, great issue too, man. That's one of the few I've read, but that's an expensive book, dude. Especially now that Keanu Reeves said that he's coming back to do the Constantine film.
I can't wait.
Forget it. That book's out of control right now.
Yeah,
out of control right now.
Constantine's one of those characters, man, that he's got such a storied legacy, and so many people have written. Because if you look at the writers that have written Constantine, it is a who's who of writers that wrote Hellblazer. You've got Garth Ennis, Neil Gaiman, Brian Azzarello, Warren Ellis. The list goes on. If you are a top name writer, you have written Constantine at some point in your career.
And they're long runs. I mean, they're at least 20 issues, if not longer. Some of these guys stuck around because what was Constantine like? Over 300 issues, somewhere around 300 issues, I think, right?
It was called Hellblazer, and I think it hit issue 300 before they finished the line.
And there's a lot of long, good runs. I think Warren Ellis is one of the smaller ones. I think it's like 9 issues maybe or something like that because they pulled one of his stories and then they published it.
Famously,
they
they pulled Warren Ellis did a stint on Constantine, and they famously did not release the issues that he had done because it was a school shooting. It was a school shooting story, and Vertigo was like, no, we're not dropping this. It has since been published, and I think there's a collection of it out there, though.
Yeah, it was a part of an anthology. It's called Shoot is the name of that Warren Ellis book or that issue. It's called Shoot, and it's Phil Jimenez doing the art. So it's really, really cool looking.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get along. Like, I mean, you get like Mike Carey, Brian Azzarello. And I think Andy Diggle did a run. It's a lot. It's mostly a lot of British writers besides Brian Azzarello.
Right.
So yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's Tyler in the chat says Constantine can compete, and I think I agree with him. Constantine can compete with Daredevil for consistent writers.
Yeah, he can. He absolutely can.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Mike Collins, thanks for the shout out, dude. Yep, Gabe is back. A lot of good stuff in the chat here. People are recommending as we get more into our own books too. Aku Lemire's Animal Man, and Snyder's Soul Swamp Thing is awesome. That New 52 stuff was great. I remember reading all that.
Yes,
and Animal Man, that's another one. That's the Grant Morrison stuff. I never read all the way. So that's another one I need to get on. Okay, so let's see here. All right, so I'm up next. And let's see. I'm going to do it. I'm sure some people in the chat are already expecting it and calling this out. But one of my favorite horror comic books, it's The Crust. Have to bring up The Crust if we're going to talk about gnarly torture, body horror kind of comic books. I'm going to talk about The Crust. I'm going to get myself on the solo here real quick to talk about this. So The Crust, again, if you like zombies and fast-running zombies and viruses and things of the sorts like that, Crust is going to be right up there for you. But I'm going to have to, if you're interested in Crust, after I get done talking about this, I'm going to prefix all of this with the warning that this book is extremely violent, extremely visceral. There is a lot of gore. Like there is some major gore and horror in this comic book. There's even, I just flipped to the page, there's a guy that walks around with a horse cock slapping people around with it. So the idea of The Crust is it's a virus that's going around that basically turns off your humanity. Like that thing that tells you, you know what? I probably shouldn't run this guy over who flipped me off. I should not run him over with my car and then cut him open. All right. That's turned off. So yes, this is the kind of book where people get ran over by cars, get cut open, and there's some adult sexual stuff that happens with some of the wounds. Like they cut people open and have their way with the wounds. So it's extremely violent. It's extremely out there. It starts off very post-apocalyptic, where just like with, say, The Walking Dead, where we follow a group of survivors who are trying to survive as a group and make it through this mess that happened. And it just turns into just a murder fest. Not only are like the cross creatures getting super blown away and cut up, as you can see in here, but there's a lot of also the humans. Like if you like Walking Dead because you never know who's going to die and anybody is not safe, then this is that type of book as well. I'm trying to turn to one of my favorite parts. Well, this isn't one of them, but you can't go wrong with this cover of this limbless fat guy. And the people who are cross, who are infected with this virus, they grow or they get this cross burnt into their face. They don't do it themselves. They don't put a cross on their face and burn it in. It just happens because they're infected by the virus. So let me see if I can find this part here. I used to sell this book a lot when I was working in comic book stores, especially this time of the year when people are looking for good horror stuff. I was like, I got you. If you want something that is just out of control and out of your mind, that you probably shouldn't have around your kids, then this is that kind of book. And I would always sell it on this. Trying to find this segment here. That every time I show this, they automatically were like, you are a disgusting person. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Or this is exactly what I'm looking for. Thank you. So I'm trying to find it in here. This makes for great radio with me just kind of flipping through here as I'm trying to look for this part. Gosh darn it.
I think NFL Dude hits it on the head. He says the big difference between Walking Dead and The Crust is that Crust isn't a melodramatic soap opera.
Oh yeah, there's really, the stories in here are very thin. I guess they're good and fine and they're serviceable, but you're in this because you want to see people get their heads cut off and you want to see they do. There's the covers of these comics are crazy. There was one that was a slide and a bunch of kids were sliding down this slide, and at the end of the slide was a wood chipper. So it was all these little kids just going into this wood chipper, just getting all mixed up and stuff. I don't know if I can find it. It's pissing me off. Every time I try to look for this, it's always impossible for me to find. Always when I'm on the spot for it. But again, this is like my top recommendation if you're looking for like body horror, crazy, if you're into things like Hostel, Saw, like that, really where you kind of want to turn away from looking at what's going on, but you don't want to because it's kind of cool, then definitely you want to check out The Cross. It's a very long running series. I think it ran for like 100+ issues. A lot of great writers. Like Garth Ennis originally started this. It went on to other writers like David Lapham. Alan Moore did his own series called Cross 100, which takes place 100 years later, where society is completely upheaved and turned over on its head compared to what it was before. So this is definitely one of those good books to kind of really, really check out if you're looking for that type of a book. I'm done. I can't find it. It's pissing me off. So anyways, I'll find it in a minute if I can, but I'll let Lou, you got another one to talk about?
Yes, I do, brother. So I'm going to go with a fan favorite of ours as far as a writer and an artist goes, and I'm going to go with James Stokoe's Aliens Dead Orbit.
Oh, dude, I was about to pull that off my shelf earlier.
Oh, man. So you can show the art. All right.
Yeah.
Aliens Dead Orbit. So for those of you out there that you love Alien, you're a diehard fan of the old series from the the old movie from the 1970s. You're like, man, the newest stuff just isn't doing it for me. You really should check out Aliens Dead Orbit by James Stokoe. James Stokoe's art is unlike anything that's been done before and unlike anything you're probably going to see in mainstream comics today. It really is. And the thing is, he gets what's really badass about Alien. He understands the concept. He understands the feeling of isolation, and he understands what it is that it makes that original movie so special. I'm a big fan of Aliens, don't get me wrong, but there's always going to be a special place in my heart for that original Alien. So you've got this woman that she stumbles upon this ship that has been basically ransacked, and a whole bunch of people have died. She soon finds out there's an alien on the ship, and then we're off to the races. It's really that simple. The plot itself isn't anything. You're not getting anything grand or anything amazing or incredible or anything like that. It's very much a by the basics, stripped back version of an Alien story. And I think that's really what makes it work over everything else.
Dude, yeah, and it's just like that original film. Like you can tell he's a fan of not really showing the creature too much until it's time to make him like a crazy monster and start killing people. The art in it is, if people don't know James Stokoe, let me go grab it. I don't have it with me, but his art he's like one of my favorite artists of all time.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Let me go grab it. Let me go find it real quick.
The downside with his art, of course, is that unfortunately it is so detailed and so crazy looking that he can't really keep a monthly schedule because that's just his art style. And he had a book out that Gabe and I were huge fans of that only lasted like about 4 issues at Image. It was called Orc Stain. And that was really fun, but it didn't last that long. I still remember that was actually the book that really turned me on to his art, because the first time I picked up an issue of Orc Stain and I looked at it, I said, what the hell is this? I've never seen anything this crazy looking art-wise. NFL Dude says the unsettling atmosphere and the sci-fi tech is amazing. Yes, it is.
Yeah, dude, James Stokoe is all about like tech and stuff like that. But he makes the tech look so organic. Like it's really creepy and awesome how he can do that. Like here's just a kind of a close-up of him just doing tech with his spaceship.
You can highlight yourself, dude, so we can show some of the art.
Yeah, because this needs to be shown in like extreme close-ups as possible. It's not giving you it's not showing it as awesome as this is on camera.
Yeah.
It's so much better when you see it in person. You can actually see like all the line work and everything that he does in this book. And then, like I said, even through the book, you don't really see the creature very often until he like pops up out of like a vent. And then you find them. It's like more than one xenomorph in this too, which is great. I like it when they get like a gang of xenomorphs just ripping people apart.
Yeah, Stokoe almost has like a manga feel to it. But it's not manga. It's definitely very unique, but it borders on it. It's really weird. Is he he's his own colorist, right? Or does his wife do the coloring?
No, I think he does all of his own coloring. I think all the art is his because all the coloring always looks the same on all of his book. It's very kind of candy colored a lot of times, like it's all like purples and blues and pinks and things like that. But it works. I mean, even in like extreme violent book like this, with all this extreme detail. Oh my god! Like I gotta show this. If you're an Aliens fan, this is the stuff that you come to see. Is the chest bursters. And again, it's like oranges and blues and purples and pinks and stuff like that. But it works, and it's really great.
Did you ever read his Kickstarter book, Sullivan Sluggers?
Yeah, that was like one of Jesus, that was like probably one of the first Kickstarters I ever did was for that.
Yeah. They put together a nice oversized collection of Sullivan Sluggers, which it kind of falls in line with what we're talking about tonight. It was a Kickstarter book when James Stokoe was first starting to blow up on the scene, and he did it with some other guy. I had heard that there were some legal and financial issues between him and the other guy that were doing the book, but they did put out the book, and there's beautiful oversized collections of the run. And it's basically a group of baseball players who they run into, I think it's like zombies or something like that. And they have to fight their way, or monsters, and they have to fight their way through it. It's a fucking awesome book. It's so much fun.
I'll show this double page spread real quick of just like the hive, the xenomorph hive. You see the xenomorphs there, and they're captured people. Yeah, that's great, dude. His art is fantastic. He doesn't get enough spotlight and not enough hype for James Stokoe, I think.
Unfortunately, yeah, that seems to be the case. Some of the best guys, I think also.
I've been talking to you guys forever about like Orkstain and stuff like that, and I love Orkstain. Orkstain, God, he's doing a book right now called The Five Beasts of Burden or something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah, he's still doing a little stuff here and there.
I think for the most part, though, he's got enough clout and recognition in the industry that he just does whatever the hell he wants at this point.
I think he's always been kind of like that indie guy. Like he's done a few Marvel like mini series or one shots and covers and stuff like that, and it doesn't. I don't think Marvel characters do justice to his art style. Like it just looks off. Like it just doesn't seem to fit with his art style, unfortunately. But anyways, let's see. Orphan and the Five Beasts. There you go, Rick White. Thanks for letting me know. That's what it is. Dude, that guy's book, whatever he gets, I'm on it all the time, dude. I love his stuff so much. Okay, so let's see. Next up. Have you ever heard of Echoes from Joshua Hale Fiofkoff?
That sounds familiar.
Okay. So it's this little book that came out from Archaea. Oh, this is Image. I thought this is from Archaea. So it's a murder mystery about serial killers.
Oh, I've read this. Yes. This is in black and white, right?
Yeah, it's in black and white. Yeah.
And it's involving fathers and stuff like that, if I remember this correctly, right?
Yeah, it involves fathers because what it is it's the guy's a serial killer, but it's like a child serial killer kind of thing. So it gets really super creepy. And one of the cooler things about it is kind of like the end of the first page or the first issue where they find the serial killer's like stash. But what it is, when they pull it out, it's all these little like dolls. But you find out that he's made this pile of dolls all out of like children's bones and bones of his victims and stuff like that. So it's just a really fun. I like detective stories, things like Detective Story that was on Showtime or HBO. I like those kinds of things where you get just a detective who is in over his head, or all of a sudden he's thrown into like a serial killer case, and it just blows their minds and they really get trapped into it and affects them and stuff like that. So that's the kind of stories I like, where it turns into just a regular guy that kind of falls into these kind of situations, and it's like a horror-based serial killer kind of thing. So it's very like a Dexter in the idea of it just being like a regular guy who just kind of falls into situations. But it's a great book. Again, another one that not a lot of people really talk about, but if you guys want to look out Echoes, great little hardcover book to check out for fun Halloween spooky stuff. What else you got, Lou? You're on mute. You're still on mute.
Oh, damn. My bad, brother.
There you go, bro.
So I got to go with one of my favorites of the last few years. I'm going to go with Rachel Rising by Terry Moore. This is Terry Moore, for those of you that don't know, has been in the industry for goddamn how long, Gabe? Like 30 years plus?
If not longer. I mean, even before like Strangers in Paradise, he's always.
Yeah, Terry Moore's been just one of those guys that's been in the industry for over 30 years, and he is one of probably the only guy that's doing it this way. Is he writes, draws, inks, letters, publishes all of his stuff.
Oh yeah, he's 100% a one man team.
Yeah, it's all him. There's nobody else that does it. He ships it out, and Rachel Rising is another one of those books. Rachel Rising centers around a young girl who is mysteriously murdered, and she ends up waking up a few days later with the signs of strangulation around her neck. Yeah. She realizes, oh shit, somebody killed me. I need to find out who it was that actually killed me. And we soon find out that there's a lot more darker stuff involved in this series than what we initially thought. There is a young girl who uses a blade that was used by the famous I'm blanking on the killer's name because it's so late and I'm running on like 6 hours of sleep right now. It's from Hell, the guy from Hell. Jesus Christ.
Oh, Jack the Ripper.
Thank you. She's using the same blade that Jack the Ripper used to kill people when he was alive, and the blade also kind of possesses the girl. It's a fun series all the way through. It's a whodunit series. It keeps twisting and it keeps turning. And honestly, Rachel Rising is one of those books that if you've never read it, you are doing yourself a huge disservice. Fair warning, it is in black and white, and that's kind of Terry Moore's thing over the last few years. I love this series. I was hooked on it when it was coming out. If there's one complaint that I have about it, it's that I do think it does end rather abruptly, but I do believe there is a sequel story that follows the young girl who is also a serial killer and has the Jack the Ripper blade. I could be wrong about that. I haven't read that, though, but Rachel Rising overall is peak horror. And Terry Moore, please show that guy some love because it is hard out here, and I can't believe that dude is still doing it his way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what his new book is. I haven't read any Terry Moore stuff. Like, I haven't read Rachel Rising. I haven't read any Strangers in Paradise, Motor Girl. I can't think of any of the other stuff he's done. But I always hear great stuff about it. I hear, like, especially Rachel Rising, that's like one of the best, like, revenge kind of back from the dead kind of stories, right? Oh, shoot.
People in the chat are saying that Serial, it is the sequel series, and it does
Serial followed up.
Okay, good to know. I'll have to read that then.
Yeah, you got to check that out, dude. Because if you're that much into it and you're liking it that much, and yeah, what a good book then.
Oh, I love
Got to check that out.
I absolutely love it.
So let me take this back a little bit. When we were talking about Crossed, I found the sequence I was talking about. So let me explain this real quick because I love this. I love this scene. I love talking about this. So again, this is a group of survivors, and they're out in the forest all alone, trying to survive off of their wits. And one guy, the man here, has a wife and a kid with him. So he's got this kind of burden, and he's got a lot of responsibility to be in this like world where people are wanting to eat you and tear you apart and stuff like that. So he thinks that he has the cure. He has the one way to fight the Cross and destroy him, and he thinks it's salt. So he has like this big bag of salt with him that he carries around because that's going to protect him and his family, right? So this scene here, they're running away from a pack of these Crossed characters, and his wife trips and twists her ankle. And they're stuck there because they can't, they're stuck there. The kid's stuck there. I think it might have been the kid that twisted their ankle. Either way, somebody's just stuck here. They get twisted their ankle. So they're staying together as the Cross are getting closer and closer. You could see here that he made this, you can see here that he put a circle of salt around them for protection. And you can see that the Cross, this is backwards, I can't do it. So you can see the Cross is stepping closer and closer to the salt line. And he thinks he's going to be safe. And then, not quite. The Crossed are you can see what you could see what's going on here, but they're basically ripping his kid apart with a hatchet, and doing messed up stuff to his wife, messed up stuff to him while pulling out his guts at the same time. So yeah, that's the cross to everybody. If that didn't want you to buy it, then you need to stay away from that book, because that's basically the book, the series in general.
Oh my gosh, man.
Another one I wanted to bring up, since it's back on my turn of things. I don't have the book here with me. I couldn't find it, but I'm going to bring it up anyways, because it's a great series, and that is The Sixth Gun.
Ooh, good choice.
Yeah, love The Sixth Gun. Okay, so it's basically it's a Western. It's a weird Western. It's cowboys and Indians and horses and, dirt towns and dirt roads. It's a Western. But it has a cool little twist with it, because it's things like ghosts, goblins, people coming back from the dead. There's like a tree where people are getting hung, and all the people that get hung there are kind of haunting the area. And the idea of the story is there are 6 guns, and each one of these guns, you can almost think of it as like Lord of the Rings. Each one of these guns, or even the Infinity Gauntlet, each one of these guns has a certain power to it. Like there's one that could bring people back from the dead. There's another one that it's a 6-shooter, like a regular old cowboy gun, but when you shoot it, it fires like a cannon, like it's a huge, massive shot. A lot of cool things going on with 6 Gun. It's a spooky ghost story involving cowboys and Indians taking place in the Old West. It's Cullen Bunn, and I think it's one of the first Cullen Bunn books that he broke out for me. Brian Hurt doing on the art. The art on it is very cartoony, but it's beautiful. It's fantastic looking art. There's like 6 really big hardcovers. They're a little bit bigger than absolutes, but it's worth checking out this series. If you like Westerns, if you want to see some ghost stories in Westerns going on, people coming back from the dead, I love this series, dude. You've read it before, right? I know we've been talking about this book for years on the show.
I think I've read about half of it, and I really love the series, and it was one of those series that I always meant to come back to. And just the initial concept of how there are these 6 guns and these people that want them and what the powers are and stuff like that. Super intriguing and super brilliant. And I really love the whole horror Western theme that we tend to get with books like Jonah Hex and stuff like that. So it's a fun read. I've read a bit of it.
Yeah, no, it's a fun book. I like that. Like you said, it's people trying to collect all of these guns to be the all-powerful person, very Infinity Gauntlet-like and stuff. Mm-hmm. Man, it's another one that all the people don't really give enough love to, or they haven't had a chance to check out. But 6 Gun is definitely worth it for sure.
All right,
what do you got? I'm almost towards the end. We're going through this a little bit quicker than I thought.
All right, keep going, bro. My next choice. This one is. I'm going to kind of cheat on this one because it is horror, but it technically isn't. And that is by Eric Powell. Did you hear what Eddie Gein done? Eddie Gein, for those of you that don't know, was a serial killer. This is all true stuff. And I know a lot of people out there are watching that Dahmer show right now on Netflix. I watched the first episode and I was bored to tears of it. But I know it's really popular right now. I'm like, okay, all right.
No, I hear you. I saw the movie that was based on the comic book, My Friend Dahmer.
Yeah.
And then I don't know how many more Jeffrey Dahmer movies I need to watch or see, because it's all the same information, right?
Yeah. So what this is that Eric Powell and another author, let me pull it up right now. It was Eric Powell and Harold Schechter. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. They went and they decided we're going to tell Ed Gein's story. And Ed Gein was a serial killer way back in the day. And if you know anything about Eric Powell's art style, he's known famously for doing The Goon, which is also another great horror comedy series that absolutely everybody should read right now.
Satan Sodomy, baby.
I say Sodomy, baby. They take a bibliographical approach of what this guy's life was like and what eventually led him to end up being the serial killer that he was. And they really don't hold anything back. It gets really weird, super weird, because that's really the story of Ed Gein, where there's a scene where he chopped somebody's face off and he's wearing it and stuff like that, which, if you know anything about Ed Gein, he was also kind of the inspiration for Leatherface.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was one of the inspirations for Leatherface.
So this is all based on a true story then?
This happened.
Okay.
All this happened. Me and Jess talked about this book last year, and you see the investigation and stuff like that when they go into the house and everything that he had done, where he was eating cereal out of people's skulls and stuff like that. And yeah, it was really dark stuff, dude.
What kind of cereal?
I don't know, Captain Crunch.
Anything good? Okay, Captain Crunch works.
Maybe Captain Crunch. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And we get a look at his early life as far as what he was like and what his early life was, and his relationship with his mother and stuff like that. Spoiler alert, wasn't good. And I found this absolutely fascinating, but it's one of those books that I read it once and I was like, you know what? I'm good. I don't need to read this again, especially since this actually really did happen. But there's a lot of fascination out there right now with serial killers and stuff like that. And I think this falls along the line for some of you out there that are a little bit curious and you're looking for something a little bit different this Halloween. I'm warning you right now because it did happen. Some of the stuff in it, it's a bit hard to stomach.
Let me see, because I've seen this book around. I didn't know it was based on like a true story, like a serial killer, like Leatherface kind of situation. So the art looks great. Let me take a look here.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, Eric Powell does this thing on this.
I just love Eric Powell's like ink wash like art style. It's so it's so just like, I don't want to say unique or whatever, but it definitely when you see it, you're like, oh yeah, that's Eric Powell. Oh, this is a little bit different though. It's a little bit more sketchy. That's cool.
Yeah, Powell, like you said, he's got one of those.
This is a Kickstarter.
Powell has one of those styles that you immediately, when you see it, recognize. Oh, that's an Eric Powell book. There's no denying what it is. And I think, unfortunately, because he's been doing the Goon for so long, don't get me wrong, I love the Goon. He's kind of been relegated to being, oh, he's the guy that does those funny little horror comics and stuff like that. When no, this guy really has a lot of talent. And Powell really can write really well if given the right source material. And I think the Goon, honestly, is one of those books that a lot of people dismiss it because it is kind of not juvenile humor, but
it's a little lowbrow at times, sure.
Yeah, it's a little lowbrow, but there is a really good story if you follow the through line of what the character the Goon goes through and stuff like that. And when you find out what happens in Chinatown, which is alluded a lot, it's actually genuinely heartbreaking.
Yeah, there's that picture there of him eating the cereal out of the skull, it looks like, or maybe it's beans, but yeah. I might have to check this out. I like Eric Powell's artwork. I'm not a big fan of Goon. It just doesn't do it for me, you know? But I love his artwork. Like I have Satan's Economy, baby, and that's just a funny book. It's a bunch of silliness and stuff. I enjoy his artwork and everything, though. Cool. All right. So another one, me and you could probably double team on this because me and you love this book, I know. It's a superhero book, so this will be the first kind of like superhero recommendation for this. And that is the one and only Immortal Hulk.
Oh, good choice.
Yeah, love Immortal Hulk. It's not your typical like spooky. When you think of the Hulk, you don't think of like horror, or you don't think of like supernatural stuff really, or things like that. You think of him as like, oh, Hulk smash and fighting the army and you know, punching Thor and things of the sorts like this. This is a different style book. It is bringing it back to some of the early Stan Lee, Jack Kirby days. Because when the Hulk first came out, if you read those early Hulk issues, every issue it seemed like they were changing up. Like they were trying to figure out who the Hulk was and his power sets and how it's going to work and things like that. Where it's like, oh, he can only turn into the Hulk at night. And things like that. So or it's, you know, it's the radiation is expunging off of him, and the Hulk is really smart at first and things like that. But with the Immortal Hulk, they kind of brought that all back, where he could smell fear. He is monstrous. Is in the beginning of the first, like, I don't know, maybe like 1 or 2 hardcovers, he's a fairly normal looking Hulk. You know, he's got the normal Hulk kind of muscles and body type and things like that. But later, as you gradually go through the series, it's one monster trope after another, and it turns into like this really gnarly body horror thing as well with the Abomination, where he's just like another creature is coming out from him. Speaking of that, like when Bruce Banner transforms into the Hulk, it's not just like he transforms. It's like the Hulk comes out of his body and like rips him apart when he comes out. So it's just this really great take on the Hulk. And the Hulk is another character that, similar to Daredevil, has had a long stream of good writers, but in between a lot of kind of mid stuff, right? So like you get things like the Peter David run and then nothing for a while. And you get like Bruce Jones, and then you get like Mark Waid, and it's like, that's a different kind of take. And then you get like Donny Cates now. But the Immortal Hulk run is like the last or most recent time that I've heard anybody talk about the Hulk, where it's like, you got to read the Hulk. Are you reading Immortal Hulk? Like this happened and is this going on? And it became like a top tier must read series, which has been a while for that.
Yeah, that's one of those books that when that was coming out, even with the first issue, everybody went, "Oh, there's something special going on with this book." I remember that. Within the first 4 issues, people were already going, "This has the makings of something extremely special." I am of the opinion that I think Immortal Hulk, in a few, even now, is going to be is regarded as a modern day classic. This is going to be one of those runs that, you know, the Peter David stuff, obviously the Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and all that other stuff, where people go, where can I start reading Hulk? You go, if you really want to get into some gnarly stuff, you automatically must pick up Immortal Hulk. If you have any questions as far as who these characters are or what these characters are, don't dwell on it too much. Kind of just do your basic research of like, Wikipedia this, whatever.
It's the Hulk. It's basic Hulk stuff. Yeah. If
Hulk.
you know that he turned into the Hulk because of an experiment on himself, that's all you need to know.
Yeah. I think the only drawback for me of this run is that once you get to the ending, it's such a great send-off of the character of Bruce Banner, and it ends on such a great note where Bruce ends up in a really good place, and then it just seems like they just did away with that immediately once Donny Cates took over the book, which I get, it's comics, but at the same time I was like, fuck, this felt like such a great ending for the character. Like, if I never got another Hulk book after this ending from Immortal Hulk, I'd be perfectly happy. Honestly, I would not mind it because I think it just ends so well, and it's kind of such a finite and beautiful ending.
And it was so good from beginning to end. Like, there's very, very little, like, you might be like 1 or 2 issues or like, it's kind of whatever, but it's not like really any kind of dips or lows.
And the art is great. The art is fucking awesome.
Yeah, Joe Bennett did, like, I think most of the issues. He's a fantastic artist. You know, his artwork is really good for all that. And especially with like because you get to the point where the Hulk is like, you know, big buff Hulk, right? But he gets like emaciated and he just turns into like skin and bones for a while, and he even like goes to like hell, and he comes back, and there's just really a lot of just my books are not within reach, and I don't have them where you can like look at it, but there is a lot of just like torturous like body stuff going on. It's very horror, very monster, especially when you start getting into like Abomination shows up, and then like Red She-Hulk shows up, and she turns into like the winged creature. There's all kinds of really great stuff going on with that stuff as well. In the chat, real quick, shout out to our boy Matt Miranda in the chat. What's up, fellas?
What's up, Matt?
Just got done with back day. Actually, that was my workout today too. I'm back in the gym. Today was my back day. Yeah,
good shit.
It's everything for my back. I did like the back. I did like triceps, like calves. It's everything for my back is what I do today.
How long?
Now I'm back in the gym. Now I'm kind of getting past the injury and stuff.
How's the foot, by the way?
Better? It's getting better. I don't need crutches anymore. I need to get rid of these things and just chuck them or donate them or something like that. I'm walking around in regular shoes for the most part. So I'm able to be on my toe a little bit more. Went to the doctor and he took like a x-ray, and I'm missing like he said, hey, everything's healing up fine. This is the best thing we could have done, was just let it heal itself. It just kind of like turned around and reformed itself back into my toe a little bit. But I'm missing like this big piece in like the top of my big toe. But
what?
No big, I'll send you the picture. You'll see.
That's great.
Pull day for Matt. I know what that is. Got to get that. Got to rip your body apart. Dude, I've been out of the gym for so long. I've been out for like 6 weeks. Going back is just like, I got to kind of motivate myself a lot more and stuff.
But it feels good. I bet it feels good to be back.
Oh yeah, dude. There's nothing better than like being like a gym rat and then not going for a while, and then you get that endorphin or whatever it is you get from working out when you haven't had it for a while. You're like, oh, this is the best feeling in the world. So
good shit, man.
All right, so I was talking about Immortal Hulk. You got another one to pull up?
Let me look. I pulled up a list just because I've read a lot of shit in the last few years.
Matt, real quick. Man, I was looking for that Green Lantern book 1 you posted on my Instagram. Dude, those Jeff Johns books are out of print. It's stupid. It's so dumb that they're out of print. Yeah. Like he's talking about this. I'm reading Jeff Johns' Green Lantern right now. So he's talking about this. Like, I think the first 2 or 3 are like out of print. But I mean, I find them on eBay for cheap, so. Yeah, these ones I got and they came in damaged, and I messaged the guy, like, hey man, these are damaged. I need a refund. He goes, okay, here's a refund. He didn't want me to send them back or anything, so I got them for free, basically.
I'm gonna go with shit. Hold on. I just saw it a second ago. Fuck it. Let's go with Witches by Scott Snyder.
Oh man, now you're bringing up some good stuff, bro. Yeah.
So Witches by Scott Snyder and Jock, man. Witches, I don't see enough love for this book, honestly. And Scott Snyder is one of those guys that he blew up on the scene because he was doing so well. And it was mainly the 1-2 punch of him doing American Vampire, and then he did Detective Comics, and that blew up as well. But Witches was also really good. Witches centers around a little girl who she just moves into town with her family, and she starts noticing some weird shit is going around the town, where there are these things called pledging. And she goes into the woods one night and she starts seeing that your stereotypical witches don't exist in these woods. They are these kind of really creepy fucking creatures that live inside of the actual trees and stuff like that. And if you're looking for something that really will get under your skin and is kind of creepy crawly, I'd really recommend Witches. The art by Jock in this is great. I mean, it's Jock. Like, is there really anything else that we need to say? Jock is one of those.
That's all you have to say.
Yeah. Jock is one of those guys that he's at the top of his game. The only complaint that I have about this is that I was just not a fan of the coloring they use in this, kind of the splattering and stuff like that. If you remember that for this book, I didn't care for it too much. It didn't do it for me. To kind of piggyback off of that, I'm going to do another 1-2. I'm going to do a 1-2 punch. American Vampire. Vampire. Man. The second omnibus just came out this week. If you have not read American Vampire, you're fucking missing out. American Vampire is so goddamn great. Centering around a young starlet who this is, I want to say it starts out in the
1920s, right? Or early teens, late teens? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the 1920s. It's kind of that golden age of Hollywood and stuff like that. You've got a young starlet who she just arrives in Hollywood, and she started her new job as kind of a waitress. She's trying to make it into the industry and stuff like that. And along the way, she ends up being attacked by a group of vampires. Well, unfortunately for her, she met another vampire before that night, and his name is Skinner Sweet. Skinner Sweet is a different kind of vampire. I fucking love Skinner. Skinner Sweet is a different kind of vampire. He is a new breed called an American vampire. What I love about this series is that Scott Snyder isn't afraid to play with the concept of there's different vampires depending on the region that you were born in and what your genetic background is. So, for example, the more classic kind of guys that go out in the night and stuff like that, and then they drink the blood and stuff, that is the kind of Eastern European vampire. The American vampire can go out in the sunlight. He doesn't have that weakness. He does have when you find out what the weakness is, I'm like, man, that was really fucking interesting and really cool. And it works with America. On top of that, American Vampire is also the story of America because you're following the character of Pearl and Skinner as they go through different periods in United States history and how that all plays into the influences that they had and stuff. It's such a great fucking read all the way through. Honestly, I need to go back and finish it because there were so many delays of the book that I stopped somewhere in second cycle and I did not finish the 1976 series, which wraps everything up.
Yeah, I think I was in the same boat. Like I was in on that series, and then again, the same thing that happens a lot with comic book series is once the book goes on a hiatus, it kind of just loses that inertia for me, and I end up not coming back. So I never got to second cycle. Was that the Sean Murphy stuff? Yep. So yeah, I never finished the series.
No, Sean Murphy. So Sean Murphy did a World War. So at the time, the World War II arc is probably my favorite arc of the series because it was Raphael Albuquerque, who was the regular artist, and Scott Snyder, that they were writing a World War II story, and at the same time, you had Sean Murphy and Scott Snyder writing another World War II story that was happening at the same time, but in a different part of the world. It was great.
Yeah, I just fell off at one point because, again, same with like Saga or something like that. When they go into long hiatuses, I just end up just like, if it's not, out of sight, out of mind kind of thing, I stopped getting into it. So but I do want to go back. I've been tempted to get the Omnis, but I'm just not a big Omnibus like fan right now these days. So I don't want to buy too many more Omnis if they're so big. And that first American Vampire Omnibus, I think it was pretty large, pretty thick. But a lot of people in the chat saying that Witches was supposed to be coming back. I mean, I think it has been talked about coming back, but I think it's one of those things where Jock just doesn't have to do comic books. Like he does a lot of movie stuff. Like he does a lot of movie designs and things of the sorts like that. And I'm sure other kind of art ventures where he doesn't need to do like comic books that much. Same with Scott Snyder. He's doing a bunch of crazy stuff for all over. He's doing like I think he's got a Substack book going, and he's been signed on to like this company and that company to do books. Like he's a very popular like writer for people. Like a lot of people are getting him hooked on the projects and stuff. But Cleveland Brown in the chat says, hot take. After New 52, he feels that Scott Snyder's quality has gone down.
I haven't read much. Honestly, in the last few years, I haven't read much of his stuff.
Yeah, me neither. What was the last thing? He did a book of Greg Capullo recently, Noctura, I think it was called. And I was kind of like, whatever about it, But, it is what it is. Yeah, I definitely don't disagree. But yeah, Jock's doing a solo Batman book recently, that Darkest Night, I think it's called, or One Dark Night.
Something like that.
Yeah, where he doesn't have, there's like an EMP bomb that goes off in Gotham or something like that, and he doesn't have any of his like toys, any gadgets and stuff, so he has to do things by hand.
Do you remember the big selling point of American Vampire, what it was when it was first announced?
Oh, because Stephen King was doing backup stories.
Yeah. So for those of you out there that don't know, American Vampire, when it was first coming out, and actually this was what drawed me in, was Stephen King was doing a backup story in there. And I remember like, holy shit, Stephen King's doing a comic book with this Scott Snyder guy. This has got to be great. I read it and go, man, fuck Stephen King. He's great and everything. What the fuck is this Scott Snyder guy?
What's this American Vampire? Wow, cool. Like vampires in the 1900s or, early 1900s, and how they're just kind of going through American history and how they created the history and changed history and manipulated it and stuff, because they're so old. They kind of just become a part of society that makes the changes in the country. So yeah, but of all things, this is back when Scott Snyder was very unknown. I think he might have been doing detective maybe at the time, the Black Mirror run, maybe. But it was like this newcomer, nobody, is overshadowing Stephen King in this comic book. I didn't really care about the Stephen King stuff after a while.
He also did, which a lot of people don't remember this book. It's called Severed. I don't know if you remember Severed. Which
I didn't read it, but I heard it was kind of just okay.
I liked it a lot. I thought Severed was pretty good. Severed was, for those of you who don't know, follows two kids as they go across the country. One of the kids, I think, is looking for his father or something like that. It's been a long time since I've read it. And along the way, they are chased by a hobo that kills people. So as
hobos do.
As hobos tend to do. That's right. So, it's a great kind of, I don't know how to explain it. It's a great, we got to stay ahead of this monster type story, and they're always one step ahead, and it has a very good moment involving a bear trap that I will always remember. But it's a hobo. You throw him a sandwich and you just run. It'll be fun.
Sounds good to me. All right, so we're almost at that hour, so let's kind of wind this down real quick. One last thing to kind of bring up with everybody. Me and Lou will talk about this real fast. Speaking of big, giant, unwielding omnibuses, at the end of the month, everybody, if you want to participate and be a part of the discussion, wrong one. At the end of the month, on October 26th, we are going to be doing a discussion, keeping it in the Halloween theme for the month. We're reading and we're going to be discussing Blackest Nights. That is the last Wednesday of the month. Here's the schedule here. As you can see, today's the 12th, so that's our spooky book recommendations. Next week, we're going to talk about favorite Halloween movies and TV shows that we kind of got into already. And then, the 26th, that's the Blackest Night discussion. So if you want, all we're doing, I got the omnibus here, this big, unwielding, massive, stupid, big for no reason omnibus.
God damn, are you going to read the Italians?
I'm not, dude. I am going to probably just bust out my issues. We're just talking the Blackest Night series itself.
Yeah.
1 through 8. I think I might pop in the Green Lantern stuff that kind of ties into it because that's actually pretty integral to the story, I think. But I'm not going into like Blackest Night Wonder Woman, Blackest Night Flash, JSA nonsense, Power Shazam, The Question. None of that. I don't care about any of that. I don't care about any of the, Phantom Stranger issues or any of that stuff. I'm just going to do the actual legitimate 1 through 8 Blackest Night series. So everybody, you got about a good 2 weeks if you want to jump in on that and join in on that discussion not next Wednesday, but the 26th. All right, so Lou, let's go ahead and let's do the last in stock trades promo. I don't know where all this stuff is here anymore. There it is. All right, everybody. Again, thanks so much, everybody, for joining in. We're going to go ahead and wind this down. We've been talking about spooky Halloween-themed comics for the last hour, but we want to point everybody, if you're interested in any of these books, your first place you want to check to see if it's available is going to be in InStockTrades.com. That's right, InStockTrades.com. Don't pay full price for your omnibuses, graphic novels, trade paperbacks, and collected editions. Don't do that. Go to InStockTrades.com and get these books up to 50% off. Free shipping in the United States on orders over $50. Amazing packaging, the best customer service. They've been sponsoring this show for the last, 25 years, I think. They've been part of this show for a very long time. We love them. We appreciate them. Definitely, everybody, that's your first spot you want to go to if you're looking for any kind of Halloween-themed books. And Lou, where can everybody find you at, brother?
You can find me at Comics Guide 101 on Twitter, Comics Guide 101 on YouTube, where you can see and archive a bunch of old videos and stuff like that, man. You want to tell them real quick, Patreon this weekend?
Oh yeah, Patreon. So if you are a patron, if you are a patron, or if you want to be a part of the Patreon experience, we are doing our monthly campfire hangout, Lou and I, where we'll be talking about, again, we're keeping it kind of spooky and Halloween themed, but it's this Saturday. We're going to be talking about Vertigo and Vertigo comics and the creation of Vertigo and the ups and downs of Vertigo. We're going to keep it in that Vertigo comics realm. So if you're interested in that, check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/Omnibroslive. We have a tip jar. If you want to just do a thank you appreciation of like $1 or $2 or throw a couple bucks in there, that's great if you want to do that. But if you want to be a part of the campfire hangout, Omnibros After Dark is what we like to call it, where we really get a little extra raunchy and talk about things we can't talk about on here. That's only $5. $5 a month. It charges you every month. I think it's on the first of the month automatically. So you can throw in $5 and join us every month, and we chit chat of a topic, and you get to hang out with us. It's just like this, but you'll be here in the room with us. It's like a Zoom room kind of thing. We're all going to hang out and discuss things as well. So you get to be a part of the conversation as well. So check that out. And with that said, everybody, we're out of here. So follow Omnibroslive on Instagram. Follow us on all your favorite podcast platforms. And everybody, I hope you all have an amazing, amazing day. And we'll see everybody soon. There's all of our podcast fun. And everybody have a great, wonderful night.
Good night, everybody.